Let's all just take a moment to respect one of the best characters of Boku no Hero Academia. Best Jeanist completely won me over with his actions in this chapter. And I will say, what he did and how he reacted to All for One was something that was commendable. And I really, really respect from his character. And also, from a writing standpoint, that was really awesome. So, this chapter leaves us on a cliffhanger that is well beyond hype levels for me right now. And I just want to be diving in and just hyping right now. But I've got to talk about certain scenes in this that really just stand out. And I got to talk about Jeanist. So, Jeanist here, we get to see the aftermath of the big explosion All for One did. And it's big. It's a big fucking radius. And this explosion, this big blast, was done in like a fraction of a second, like a second. It was that quick. It was so quick, nobody saw it coming. And if he can do something like that, he can do it over and over again. So you can already see the destructive capabilities of All for One is ridiculous. It's out of there. And most likely has a lot more in his sleeve that he's hiding, and he'll probably use against One for All Might. But Jeanist, he actually saved every single person that got hit. And it makes a lot of sense. Let me explain. I can actually accept this for one reason alone. It's because of the character trait that was shown in last week's chapter, which I'm going to discuss it. Let me go to the page right now. So, in last week's chapter, chapter 88 to be exact, of Boku no Hero Academia, you had to where All for One was walking up behind everybody. He was starting to talk, and soon as the dude was in the middle of conversation, Best Jeanist just uses his clothes and tries to restrain him instantly. Doesn't even let this man talk. He doesn't even look at him. He just restrains him pretty much instantly. He has quick thinking, and he was able to completely understand that this situation, he has no time to talk. He needs to act. And so, because of this character trait we saw in last week's chapter, I can actually accept what we got in this chapter in terms of a shonen standpoint of how the character survived. I can understand that, and I accept that because it goes along with Jeanist's personality from what we saw in last week's chapter. But it goes one step further. We have it to where if we go to chapter 89, and we go to the pages that happen, Jeanist, he has pretty much taken the entirety of the explosion, or the blast. Because if you look at his body, it's in a whole much worse state than anyone else. You can look at everyone else on the top part. Everybody else looks beat up and bruised and hurt. Yes, even Mount Lady, she looks messed up. But Jeanist, he's sitting there in the middle of it and all that. And you know he probably protected them over himself. Let's just assume so. And if you look at his body, it's mangled. It's really fucking mangled. You see blood, his clothes are tattered, and then if you look at his left arm, seriously, look at it, it's bent wrong. Like, it looks like it's bent in an improper position. And you see blood. It looks like his entire left arm is broken and shattered. So he can't pretty much even use it, most likely. He'll have to force himself. So he took a huge hit, and he's at death's door. And while he's under this insane amount of pain, most likely adrenaline's pumping, he might not feel it, maybe, because adrenaline pumping, but still, he might be feeling it, and after all this that just happened, he's still kind of wide awake a little bit, being able to understand what's going on, and then you get this dialogue from All for One. But in an instant, you controlled everyone's clothes and pulled them out of the way. Your judgment, technique, you've got nerves of steel. Pretty much All for One is complimenting Jeanist for his nerves, his judgment, and how he used his ability, his quirk, to overcome what All for One just did. He's happy, surprised, and it's impressive. But at the same time, while this is going on, if you look closely in the next page, Jeanist is starting to initiate his counterattack. You see some threads coming off of the back of his collar into the ground to try to maneuver and attack him, and as he's about to strike at All for One puts him down. Jeanist is dead. He's pretty much fucking dead. Damn. Just like that. Pretty much 2 shots, actually. 2 fucking shots took him down. And All For One most likely wasn't completely trying. He probably could have done some crazy things with different quirk abilities he most likely has. But still, this right here, what Jeanist did, initiating a counterattack while he's in that state, and not even taking a moment to think. Like, he slightly thinks about it, but he goes in. He doesn't hold back. That's respectable. That really is respectable for a character. So, Jeanist, I will miss you as a character. If you are indeed dead, which you got shot in the fucking stomach, I think you're dead. And this match between All For One and All Might's probably going to be insane. So, yeah. Jeanist, you will be missed. If this is your final time to be alive, I will miss you as a character. You're a pretty fucking amazing character. So, getting off of that, let's just talk about what All Might did at the end of this chapter, which, oh my god. This All Might stuff right here, what I see going on, it's scary, but it also goes to show you how strong All For One is. Because All Might, we've already seen demonstration of his power. We know he's in a weakened state, he's not in his prime, we know this, but we have seen some crazy things from All Might. He's the #1 hero for a reason, and he has a lot of power. And we know how much strength he has. Well, some of his strength that we have seen. He actually is coming from the sky. Look at the panel real quick and just think about it. He's coming from the sky at a very fast velocity, most likely. Like, very, very fucking fast. And as he's flying from a huge distance and he's coming in, he rams both his fucking fists right at All For One. And this is something that you normally don't see from All Might. Usually he just uses a fist. He goes one fist in, and that's usually how it is. But All Might went in with both fists going in at once, and All For One stopped him. Fucking stopped him. Actually stopped All Might's punch. And we know All Might didn't hold back. Let's factor this in. Most likely All Might went all in. He probably really went all in to take him out because he's pissed off, he knows what's going on, and, you know, he needs to protect everybody. And this is his, like, arch enemy. He needs to take down All For One. So going in with both fists, probably full power from a freaking, like, an angle with a high velocity coming in. He's like a fucking bullet, but faster than a bullet. Coming in with that extra power, you gotta imagine for All For One to stop something like that, he is insanely strong. So, damn, we're probably gonna see some crazy stuff in this upcoming match. Damn. So, the design. Well, let's talk about the design of All For One before I get into my thoughts on what might happen and the other stuff of the chapter. So, the design of All For One. Let me back up and look at his complete design, because there was a page that actually showed his face from a very good angle. So, his design, it reminds me... don't take this wrong, any fans, but he reminds me a lot of Bane from Batman. He really does. He really reminds me of that. I mean, his entire mask on his face, it reminds me of it. And, I mean, some aspects, it reminds me of Nomu's as well. But it's still, it does look like something you would see from Batman. It does. And I do love the suit. The suit design is just badass. I mean, we've seen him in a suit. It's not something we haven't seen before, but I love the suit, and I love the helmet on him. It really makes an interesting looking villain, and badass. And always villains in this series have some really good designs. I mean, seriously, that's one thing this series really has. If there's one thing, if I had to say that this series has going for it, it's definitely the designs of the characters or the villains. The villain designs are always fucking incredible, and I'm loving All For One's design. So, getting off of that, so, as I've been discussing for a while now, All Might, we already know he's destined to die. I'm not going to get into that, I've discussed it, but this match once again proves that it's happening. The fated battle, the rematch, All For One versus One For All, it's actually happening. It's going down. And, as I've said, this is probably the perfect time to probably kill off All Might. Look, let's look at all the characters that are here right now, okay? You have Izuku, Todoroki, and Bakugo at the same exact location. They're both there. All three are there. And we know these three have been inspired by All Might as kids. They've been very inspired by All Might in different ways, but inspired by him. And Shigaraki has also, in a way, been negatively inspired by All Might. So, with these four characters being there, it really sets the plateau for All Might's death. It does. Because these characters have constantly looked at All Might either as a symbol, or looked at him as a negative person that needs to be put down because he never saved me in the past. For instance, Shigaraki, what happened to him? And if All Might was to die here, it would make a lot of sense. Because these four characters have had flashbacks of seeing All Might in different spotlights, or seeing him and how they inspired them. And this right here is the perfect time. All for one versus one for all. And as we know, All Might is on a timer. We already know, he's gotten weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker, and he can barely hold his full transformation. Who is to say that his transformation is not almost up already? So, with that all considered, I could see this fight ending like this. I'm just going to make an assumption. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but I'm assuming. Most likely, All Might's going to have an even match with All for One. They're going to be even. Maybe All Might is going to be able to weaken All for One down to the point he almost kills him, but then All Might powers down. I could see something like that happening. Maybe the fight's dragged on, he powers down, and then All for One kills him. Or Shigaraki, which that would actually really add more weight to the death of All Might. Because what if Shigaraki killed All Might? Because as we know what Shigaraki wants. And if Shigaraki kills All Might, that would actually add more weight to Shigaraki's character, but also more meaning to the death of All Might as well, since, Shigaraki has a connection with All Might. We already know. I've discussed this in previous chapters. So, with that being said, it would be a lot better, actually, if Shigaraki killed All Might. Now, Bakugo, he's something to consider right now in this entire mess going on. Bakugo has been teleported alongside of all the other villains. And as we know, he's still being recruited. He's being scouted as a new villain. Bakugo, as his personality's already been shown, he will not become a villain unless he's brainwashed. He has to legit be fucking brainwashed to probably become a villain. And even then again, even if Bakugo was to choose that path, he most likely would become an anti-hero instead of a villain. I could see him becoming something similar to Stain, not exactly, but I could see something like that. But I don't think Bakugo will become a pure villain. So the only way I see Bakugo actually turning evil is if he gets brainwashed, and that could happen. We know All for One has incredible powers and abilities, different quirks and stuff, so that is a likely possibility that could happen. Now, in this fight, though, All Might has something that is against him. Something that is very, very bad. And this actually affects him quite a bit. He has one of his students there amongst this big battle that's about to happen. And what's going to say that All for One's not going to use Bakugo as a hostage in this upcoming fight? All for One, all he has to do is just teleport Bakugo in some place, or grab him or something, or another villain has to grab him and use Bakugo as a hostage for All Might to die. That could happen. Bakugo pretty much at this time is a liability for All Might. I'm not saying Bakugo is weak, I'm not saying he can't defend himself, he's a very strong character, but when it comes to All for One, Bakugo is pretty much a drop in the middle of a huge lake. So, I can see Bakugo becoming a hindrance in this fight. He's obviously going to fight. He's definitely going to fight. He's probably going to try to help out All Might or something, but I could see it to where he gets in the way and it causes the death of All Might, which could affect Bakugo as a character. Now, as I've already said before, I would really like to see Bakugo actually lose his quirk ability. I would. Now, the reason for this is because it would add an extra layer to Bakugo's character, because as we know, in the past, earlier on in the series, he used to make fun of Izuku because he had no quirk ability. He's like, oh, I'm gifted, you're not, you're pretty much, you're bad, you don't have quirk, you can't be a hero. Just always making fun of Izuku, and in a way, he's calmed down a little bit, but he kind of still makes fun of him, and I would really like to see Bakugo go through the route of losing his quirk for a long time, and having to deal with it, and then understand what Izuku had to go through the entire time. I would love to see that. That would add some really good characterization and development for Bakugo if he lost his quirk ability. I'm not saying that's probably going to happen, but that would be cool if that does, because it would put Bakugo in the spot that Izuku was in. He would be able to understand him a whole lot more. So, yeah. The overall chapter, man. It's crazy. I hadn't even got into the Izuku stuff. The Izuku stuff blows me away because, in his mind, Izuku is doing what he normally does best. He's thinking about a plan. What could he do? And he's wanting to say so, and his feet started moving before he even noticed. And he was going to go in there and try to save Bakugo before All For One probably took him, and All Might jumped in. So Izuku, he was about to do what he does best. Try to help them out in any way possible. And All For One was making Izuku so sick or scared. Everybody so scared they were actually vomiting or about to vomit. All the characters were woozy, nauseous. They were showing signs of fatigue and like they couldn't even stand. It was just that bad. And even amongst this, Izuku decided to try to still fight. And Ida, I gotta give him points here. I gotta give Ida points here. Some might bitch at him because he stopped Izuku. I know many might bitch at him for this, and maybe this might have some form of trait that happens to Izuku in the future. Maybe Izuku will kind of blame Ida for not helping him out and letting him go. I could see something like that happening. I mean, imagine down the road, if All Might does in fact die in this fight, I can see some drama happening to where Izuku might blame Ida for not allowing him to go in, maybe to try to help out All Might. Something like that might happen. But even if it does or doesn't, it's still, I gotta give points for Ida right now. He kept true to what he set out to do when he came along with him. He says, I will not let you get into a fight, I will keep you safe. He did a very good job. And Ida stayed true to his word, and he stayed true to the character development he got in the Stain arc. So, I give points to Ida. He saved probably Izuku's life. Definitely saved his life like that. Easy. So, Ida, you're a good man. He's a good man in this chapter. Say what you will, put him down, call him trash. You could say he should have let, Izuku go in. I don't care. I think Ida did a very good job, and he stuck true to his character, and he saved Izuku's life and probably all their lives. So good job, Ida. Okay, so beginning of the chapter pretty much is just teleportation and all that, of an Endeavor and All Might having a moment, which I love that moment. It reminded me a lot of Izuku and Bakugo. But that's about it when it comes to this chapter of Boku no Hero Academia. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.